You're listening to Short History Shorts Audio, where history speaks louder than images. The Illyrian Wars were a trio of conflicts fought between the Roman Republic and the Illyrian kingdoms along the Adriatic coast during the 3rd and 2nd centuries BC. They marked Rome's first sustained military engagement outside the Italian peninsula, the first time Roman legions marched into the Balkan lands, and the first strategic use of naval power in a foreign theatre. These wars were sparked not by territorial ambition at first, but by the practical need to protect Rome's trade routes and allies from the scourge of piracy, an endemic problem in the Adriatic that was worsened by the rise of a centralized Illyrian monarchy under the aggressive and ambitious Queen Teuta. By the time the last Illyrian king, Gentius, was defeated in 168 BC, Rome had established itself as the unchallenged master of the Adriatic, opened the door for further expansion into Greece, and made its presence felt across the eastern Mediterranean. To truly understand the Illyrian Wars, we must begin with the geography and culture of the Illyrians. The term Illyrian was used by Greek and Roman writers to describe a loose collection of tribes inhabiting the rugged, mountainous lands of the Western Balkans, modern-day Albania, Montenegro, parts of Croatia and Bosnia, and into Kosovo. The Illyrians were known for their fierce independence, warrior culture, and strong seafaring tradition. Many tribes lived along the Dalmatian coast and on offshore islands, giving them easy access to the sea. They were skilled shipbuilders, and their light, swift Lembus vessels were ideal for quick raids and piracy. Unlike the more centralized kingdoms of Macedonia or Epirus, Illyria was usually a patchwork of rival chieftains, until the rise of the Ardeaean kingdom in the late 3rd century BC. The Ardeaean dynasty, under kings like Agron and his widow Queen Teuta, brought a degree of unity and ambition that transformed the region from scattered pirate bands into an organized naval power. Agron in particular was a formidable ruler. He expanded his control over neighbouring tribes and turned piracy into a state-sponsored enterprise. His sudden death in 231 BC left the throne to his young son Pinnes, with Queen Teuta acting as regent. Teuta quickly proved to be just as ambitious as her husband, but far more provocative toward neighbouring powers. At this point, Rome had recently emerged as the dominant force in Italy, having defeated Pyrrhus of Epirus and completed its conquest of the peninsula. It had also just concluded the First Punic War against Carthage in 241 BC, gaining control of Sicily and developing a growing navy. Rome's merchant fleets and allied Greek city-states along the Adriatic, such as Apollonia and Epidamnus, relied on safe sea lanes for trade. Illyrian piracy directly threatened this. Greek sources report that Illyrian raiders began attacking ships indiscriminately, plundering cargo, and even assaulting coastal towns. The breaking point came around 230 BC when Illyrian pirates attacked a convoy from the Italian city of Phoenice, killing or enslaving many on board. Soon after, a Roman diplomatic mission was sent to Queen Teuta to demand that she restrain her subjects. According to Polybius, Teuta responded with chilling arrogance, stating that while she would prevent private citizens from attacking Rome, she would not interfere with the freedom of her people to engage in piracy. An answer that made clear the practice was sanctioned by the crown. Worse still, during the negotiations, one of the Roman envoy was murdered, an act that Romans interpreted as an unforgivable insult. Rome reacted decisively. In 229 BC, the Senate declared war and dispatched a fleet of about 200 ships under the command of consul Gnaeus Fulvius Centumalus and a land force under consul Lucius Postumius Albinus. This was the beginning of the First Illyrian War. The Roman navy sailed across the Adriatic, capturing Corcyra, modern Corfu, with the help of defectors from the Illyrian garrison, then moved up the coast to liberate Greek cities under Illyrian control, including Epidamnus, Apollonia, and Issa. Queen Teuta was forced to retreat inland and eventually sued for peace. The resulting treaty limited Illyrian naval activity south of Lissus and forced Teuta to pay tribute. Rome also established alliances with several Greek states, marking its first formal foothold in the Balkans. The Second Illyrian War, fought in 219 BC, was triggered by renewed Illyrian aggression under Demetrius of Pharos, a former ally of Rome who betrayed the treaty restrictions. While Rome was preparing for renewed conflict with Carthage, the Second Punic War was just a year away. It could not allow piracy to resurface in the Adriatic. The Roman fleet once again crossed into Illyria, this time under the consul Lucius Aemilius Paulus. Demetrius was defeated quickly, his strongholds taken, and he fled to the court of Philip V of Macedon, setting the stage for future Roman-Macedonian entanglements. The Third Illyrian War came decades later, in 168 BC, against King Gentius. By now, Rome had already fought 2 Macedonian wars and was a major Mediterranean power. Gentius, in alliance with Perseus of Macedon, resumed piracy and attacked Roman allies. Rome sent the praetor Lucius Anicius Gallus, who in a swift 30-day campaign captured Gentius at Scodra, ending Illyrian independence. Gentius was paraded in Rome's triumph, and Illyria was divided into client republics under Roman supervision. The Illyrian Wars had several long-lasting consequences. Militarily, they demonstrated Rome's ability to project power overseas, combining land and naval forces in coordinated campaigns. Diplomatically, they marked Rome's entry into Greek affairs and the eastern Adriatic, forging alliances that would be crucial in later wars against Macedonia and the Seleucid Empire. Economically, they secured Rome's maritime trade routes and reduced piracy in the Adriatic for decades. But perhaps the most significant outcome was psychological. For the first time, the Roman Senate and people saw that they could act beyond Italy, not only in defense of their interests, but also to impose order on distant lands. This shift in mindset from defending the peninsula to actively intervening abroad would guide Roman foreign policy for centuries. The Illyrian coast, with its deep bays, fortified ports and swift pirate ships, had once been a threat to Rome's security. By the end of the wars, it was firmly within Rome's sphere of influence. The Adriatic had changed from a contested frontier into a Roman lake, and the Illyrians themselves, once feared raiders, became auxiliaries in Rome's armies and navies. The Illyrian Wars may seem small compared to the great Punic or Macedonian conflicts, but they were a proving ground, a rehearsal for the Mediterranean-wide dominance Rome was about to achieve.